Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerers Guild. Today we are going to be talking a bit more as to what it is exactly that we are trying to accomplish with the S1 project, which will begin entering a new phase on May 5th of 2022. Now I do have a bit of a script that I'll be working from here, so if you see me glancing down from time to time, that is what I'm doing. I'm looking down at the script. So I am a day late recording this episode, since I did say that I was trying to get them out on Saturdays, and this will be coming out Sunday. But I am a little more prepared. I've got a script, and that's actually why I'm a bit behind schedule, as I felt I needed to write a script for this episode. So anyways, I will leave it in the description portion of this post, or if it does not fit, I will leave it in a leave a link to a Google Docs copy that you can come to through the description portion of the post. So, anyways, what we are trying to accomplish is twofold. One is that we are trying to reestablish a proper balance within our reality between the astral, mental, and material planes. Which will of course mean, by doing that, we will mend the rift between the astral and the mental plane and bring about the return of magic in a more direct form than what we are currently experiencing in this reality. The second is to reestablish connection with intergalactic, which is not so much an organization as a reality-wide mental connection that not only facilitates communication between beings in this reality, but will also allow us contact with other realities so that we can exchange information and ideas. Let me first reassure you that we can still use the S1 sigil to access and create your own afterlife. I said in the video with the SSLS1 that we might be using it from that point on to get up to the roadhouse and those types of things. That is not the case. The S1 and the LS still exist in their previous forms before they were combined into the SS or LS1. Okay, so when you are using your dream staff, accessing your dream platform, all of that will still be going through the S1 sigil, which any of you that have been using it still are probably aware of, since there's been no change. Okay, so anything you're using the S1 sigil, you were using the S1 sigil for, you can still use it. So beyond that, let's start with intergalactic. First of all, that's just a word that I use to describe the concept to myself in my mind. It's a word that made sense to me. But what it really is a mental connection that is facilitated. It is a facilitated. Just a moment. Let me look at the script here. What it really is a facilitated connection linking all perceptions within a reality and beyond through the mental realm. This connection is possible because of the interconnectedness of all things, making all of existence on the most cosmic of scales, all one perceiving being, of which we are all part. This is, you've heard this referred to as the cosmic soul. I've referred to it before as the all thing. It is the place where all things are one thing. Because of this, we are all part of the same thought process, if you will. This interconnectedness of all things is an inherent aspect of existence itself, and when cultivated properly, it allows for a fuller level of communication and understanding. One could think of intergalactic as a single thought that weaves all of us together. Now, reestablishing a proper connection with intergalactic should allow us to communicate with each other more fully, more and clearly, as well as more easily carry memories from one life to the next, and even clear up some of the fog between waking life and the dream world. So those are some of the reasons that reconnecting to intergalactic would be useful to us. As said previously, intergalactic can, for the most part, be viewed as a reality-wide connection rather than as an organization. That being said, there are some agents who work for intergalactic. I mentioned them in previous videos as the guys, the people I talked about in the pinstripe suits that were connected to fate. Those are agents of intergalactic. But what they do is they help to maintain that connection of intergalactic within established realities and even create connection to new realities as they are discovered or created. I will probably get into more about that discovered or created realities in a future episode. But the motive that they have is not to control or dominate us in any way. In fact, people from Intergalactic, they want to influence us as little as possible. Their motive that they have is to seek out new thoughts and experiences. Basically, they want to watch us experience life. These are beings that operate outside of time. They're ancient isn't the right word, yeah? They are outside of time. So they're already aware of all the experiences they're ever going to have. And some of them, in a lot of ways, are close to ours. But they've experienced so many different things that, well, they've experienced everything they can imagine. So they want to see what you can imagine, yeah? It's like when you're watching your favorite movie, right? And you've seen it 100 times. So you can only get so much enjoyment from this movie. It's not as good as the first time you watched it. The only way you can really enjoy the movie once you've seen it for yourself the first time is to have someone else experience it, yeah? To have someone else watch the movie. And at that point, yeah, you're watching the movie, but really, you're there to watch them experience the movie, to see their reactions to this thing for the first time. And that makes it more enjoyable than simply watching the same movie over again by yourself. And that's what Intergalactic is up to here. They want to watch us experience life. That is their prime motivator. Let's see. Just a moment. So it is with Intergalactic. Simply, they simply want to watch us react to life. So to that end, they will not be reshaping our reality. Like I said, they have no desire to influence us. We will be the ones that must reshape our own reality as the connection returns. They will only facilitate that connection, which helps them to be able to watch what is going on and help us bring about the conditions that allow the maximum amount of free will so that we're entertaining to watch. Yeah, they want us to be able to do as we wish. They don't want... that's one thing they do have a problem with, is oppression and things like that, because if you oppress a character, that limits his actions and it becomes less interesting to watch. And they want things to be as interesting as possible without, of course, influencing things. So they're not going to purposely create interesting situations. They simply want us to be free so that we can do as we will. The eventual goal here over time is to return this reality to a state where we can speak to one another clearly no matter what words are used. This would not be a new thing to this reality. In fact, we would be repairing an already existing connection that was lost when our reality fell out of balance. And in many traditions, we still have traces of this idea within the mythology. In the Old Testament, they talk about the Tower of Babel and how before the fall of the Tower of Babel, everyone spoke the same language. In the Aboriginal times, they mention, or in some of the Australian Aboriginal traditions, they mention the dreaming time and when the dreaming time left. And even in some of the Native American traditions, they talk about a time before when man could speak with animals and even plants as clearly as we do each other now. In fact, one of the myths that I know is about dog jumping across the rift as it's formed between man and the animals, and where we can't talk to each other anymore. And these are all stories of the same thing. These are stories of when we lost our original connection to Intergalactic. Because before that, we were able to communicate because we had a link through the mental plane. Okay, but what do I mean? And so that's Intergalactic. And so what do I mean by returning balance to the spheres? As I discussed in previous episodes, reality is made up of 3 parts. Well, in fact, I mentioned in this episode already. We have the astral, the mental, and the material realm. These can be visualized as a triangle. And ideally, reality, the base reality, should be right in the center of that triangle. And so that can be equally influenced by the 3 separate realms. However, our reality has become so has become pulled so far towards the material realm that neither the astral nor the mental realms have any real effect on our base reality, and it becomes exceedingly difficult to have a direct effect on the world without taking some material action. Well, let's see what I said here. However, our reality has become pulled so far towards the material plane that neither the astral nor mental realms have any real effect on the base reality, i.e., our daily lives, are dominated by the physical world, and it is exceedingly difficult to achieve change through any other means than material action. By reconnecting our reality to intergalactic, we can begin drawing the focus of our reality back to the center of the triangle, which will not only increase the power of our spellcraft, but will also facilitate a more powerful connection to the mental plane and provide us even further access to the use of that mental thread between us, all which I have termed intergalactic. Okay, so why is the project going to be entering a new phase on May 5th of 2022? Well, on May 5th of 2012, as I mentioned in a previous video, which I will leave a link for, the Horde was able to remove the being that was dragging our reality further towards the material realm. I refer to these beings as the Salusi. And on May 5th of 2012, the Horde was able to remove those beings and cease that process. So our reality is already going to start moving back to center now that there's no one pulling on it. But it will take time, yeah? And with them putting a gap to us, helping to create a bridge to us, they can help us get our reality back to its center point much faster than it would on its own. After this event, I was told I had 10 years. Speaking of, it's going to take a while. At the time, I had no idea what this meant, but since then, a certain percentage of my dreams have been stuck in a same plot line, have been following a very definite plot line of reestablishing a connection to this reality. I discussed this in last week's episode, the Akum episode, and I talked a bit about my dreams there. Oh, by the way, I left out so many parts to that. I was posting about it in the guild, and I didn't think to look at those posts until after I made the episode, and there was a lot that I missed about different types of food and me trying different recipes, which would be me beginning to understand the barrier that was there. As I tried different ratios of rice to water, trying to push them through. That was me changing different things about it. And I actually just used the S1 sigil to contact the Horde. I didn't use the landline. But anyways, that's last week's episode. Moral of that is, if you really want to remember your dreams, write them down. I don't keep a dream journal. I probably should. And I do recommend the practice to other people. But for me, for some reason, the more I write stuff down, the more I start to forget. So, I don't know. It's like, I write down the script here, and I probably could have just remembered all this stuff, and then I wouldn't be looking down at the camera. I wouldn't be forgetting. But here we are. So anyways, at this point, okay. I discussed this as well in last week's episode, like I just said. At this point, we are building a bridge across the rift itself. In fact, in my dream last night, I actually, the last dream I had before filming this episode, we were actually building a bridge. And I spent most of the time using wooden staffs to make these triangles, which would then be built into an S shape with the triangle and then another triangle on the bottom and a swoop through the middle, the S's or LS1. And these were going to be used for making the bridge. I was making them, and then there was these groups of 3 women that would come and get them. There was one with a blonde hair, one with a red head, and one that was a brunette. And for some reason, in my dream, I understood that as being a representation of the trifold goddess. So I suppose that means Hecate, or grandmother, is helping us in this work. and she is taking the pieces of the wood that I built down to the bridge and helping them build them. And then there were these poles going down into the earth, and each one of them had a clay golem grasping the pole and holding it tight as we built this bridge over the rift. Okay, so I was using wooden staffs to make triangle frames that were built in the shape of the SS or LS1 and used in the bridge's construction between our world and intergalactic. The timing of this is going to coincide with that 10-year mark. So that is what they meant by the 10 years. You have 10 years before we are able to establish connection, now that the Seleuci have been removed and are no longer pulling you towards one of the three spheres. To be clear, I'm not promising a sudden world-altering influx of magic. I'm not saying anything in particular is going to happen on that day except for what we do. We are going to be helping open the way for the final moment of this bridge to connect. And you never know, it might be a sudden influx of magic. You are most definitely going to be feeling a increase in the potency of your own spell work through this process. I mean, maybe this is just an internal process, and that's what's going to happen, is that through all this work, we are going to be increasing the potency of our spells and creating our own bridge to the other side. I don't think so. I think this is an external project as well, and we are doing something that over time will be affecting the entire base reality. But I don't want to insist that my reality and truth is the only truth. And of course, you don't have to believe all of this to help with this project, yeah? You simply have to believe in the S's. You don't have to believe in the Horde or intergalactic or any of that. As long as you are charging the S's, you are still helping with this project that has the goal of mending the rift between the astral and material planes and returning us to a better balance within the three spheres. Now, okay, so to be clear, I'm not promising a sudden world-altering influx of magic. I don't think we should bank on a sudden miracle occurring that very first time. This is a work that will take lifetimes to fully accomplish. But those participating in this project will notice an increase in the potency of their own spell work. Okay, so I've already gone through that, just a moment. And the reason for this is because we will be the reference points on which the reestablished connection is anchored. We are the reference points of the material plane where the bridge will be joining to. So we will be the ones that it gets to first. And that's why we're going to notice, and those of us working with this project should notice a dramatic increase in the potency of our own spell work as this bridge reaches farther and we continue charging the S's sigil. So, that gets me to the next point on the script here. What can we do in the meantime to help create the bridge into our reality? We will be charging the SS or LS1. In the last stream that I had, that was the symbol from which the bridge will be made. So each time that we charge the SS we are adding to the bridge, and it will be the more we do this, the stronger and wider that bridge will be, and the more of a reference point we become within that flow of magic that will be coming into this reality. And that's what we will be doing for now. But on the night of May 4th, we are going to do the same thing that we did when the SS was first brought to my attention. That dream I had, where I told you guys about, that they gave me the sigil of the SS. So, on the night of May 4th, we will be drawing the sigil again on our non-dominant wrist, and then going to bed with the intention, or astrally projecting, whichever you prefer, and going to the spot marked by that sigil. We will project into the sigil or sleep with the sigil on our wrists, and one more time open up the portal for the final connecting of the bridge from intergalactic into our reality. And then awaken into a new world on May 5th. Now, as I said, this will be a work of lifetimes. So we will want to be returning to this ritual over time. And from now until whenever, we can charge the Esses whenever we like to help build that bridge. But every year on this same day, which is 6 months from now, not this day, but on May 4th, as it strikes midnight, we draw the Esses on our wrists and astral project to once again open the way for the return of magic. Okay, so that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. And until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.